The people have spoken. In a resounding voice, they have decreed Sedris the Entertainer. So, yeah, the vote wasn't even close. Sedris had by far the most, and I will stay true to my mission statement of making this deck more about fun, ridiculous cards that have a high chance of backfiring and making me look like an idiot, than I will on constructing a deck that is actually a cohesive, playable, one-shot to victory Magic Palooza. And I believe I have succeeded in that. This deck requires a lot of mana to get going. These fun spells cost a lot of them, so there are quite a few mana getters, including my favorite Mr. Expedition map, that I never seem to play, and then every time I see it played against me, I'm like, why don't I have that? So it is here. It is here to stay. We got the Soul Ring, the Chromatic Lantern, and the Coalition Relic. Couple of trinkets found at the pawn shop now in the Sedris deck. Obelisk of Grixis, Thran, Dynamo, Gilded Lotus, all of it designed to get me to the big manas. Then I have my removal package. I am using air quotes for removal here because confiscate is not the most removal of removal, and this deck doesn't play a lot of removal to begin with, just a little bit to get me out of sticky situations and make the game last longer. Spine of Ish-Sa is a fun one to warp a world into, and I've got an Ingot Chewer to kill it. And, the Ingot Chewer can come back a few times, so... Or, the World Gorger Dragon does the same deal. Gets Spine of Ish-Sa out 2 or 3 times a game, maybe sometimes. Phyrexian Metamorph also coming in as a copy. It's a pretty good one. It's renewable, removable. Then I have the smaller creatures with comes into play effects, including Pilgrim's Eye. As I said, this deck loves mana, and Pilgrim's Eye will fetch that mana. Flashback Marauder with the best art in the history of Magic. This guy, oh, I am so in love with this creature. This zombie warrior. I don't know what it was in life. Maybe a meatball, perhaps, that made love with a demon? I have no idea. Enough, though. Flashback Marauder, quite good in this deck. It's fine stacking one of my own things if I can bring it back with Sedris, Unearth. You got the Seagate Oracle, standard card running through your deck. Gilded Drake, who should have been in Drake and Take. I mean, obviously, a stupid omission on my part, but remedied because he's here with Sedris the Entertainer. Augury Owl, same deal as Seagate Oracle. Very good early draw. Organize my next few draws. Phyrexian Metamorph and Clone are, perfect. They are essential in Commander. Get rid of opposing commanders, copy other big, flashy, stupid creatures. Summon Lake Roam. Also a standard Commander staple. Archaeomancer, because I've got some fun spells, and what's more fun than playing a fun spell? Well, I'm playing it twice. That's why Archaeomancer exists. Seraph Temptation, to take one of the big stupid creatures. Venser, as my only bounce in the entire deck. Venser, bouncing something, spell or whatever. Could remand. You've seen Venser. Venser's amazing. And now on to the bigger dudes. Ingot Chewer. As I said, he exists for my own Spine of Ish-Sa, but also because there's so many fucking artifacts running around Commander Town, I had to have something to deal with the ones that'll just break my game. And that's what the Ingot Chewer does. Mold Drifter. Draw them cards. Shriekmaw. Kill them creatures. Siege Game Commander. Get them goblins. Siege Game Commander is an especially good one because he shits out 2 little bastard goblins that can warp world into better things. Massacre Worm, in my testing, I have never drawn Massacre Worm. I imagine he's pretty good. I don't know why he wouldn't be, especially against certain decks that play a bunch of little guys. This would, it would be a downright massacre against them all. A couple of Titans, not Inferno Titan. I need to make some cuts for some better things, and Inferno Titan did the least. Grave Titan shits out zombies much as Siege Gain shits out goblins. So they're good for Warp World. Frost Titan, because he's just awesome in Commander, tapping down something they really need. Duplicant, I guess, is still removal. Mirror Battlesphere, you want to talk shit and not little guys. And I'm sorry if you don't. I'm kind of forcing you into the conversation. Well, Mirror Battlesphere is the king shitter. So that's why he exists. Chancellor of the Forge. Did I mention this deck likes to shit things out? Because Chancellor of the Forge shits things out. Rune Scarred Demon, my only tutor. I think that tutors would make this deck less fun. Those tutors are really good cards, and this deck doesn't like playing really good cards. Likes to play risky cards. So Rune Scarred Demon is my only tutor, and I hereby promise you that I will only tutor with him something from this pile over here. Then you get the Tyrant of Discord, the Random Factor. You know, I could destroy a land, or I could destroy my opponent's entire side plus a land. World Gorger Dragon. Probably a very interesting inclusion, but I feel like he's the very definition of retarded cards that exist only for fun factor. And since most of my guys have come into play effects, if my opponents do kill him, and I guess they're bound to eventually, or they could just, you know, put a Pillory of the Perilous or whatever that one is, you know, some kind of pacifism on World Gorger Dragon, and then I just die forever. But if they don't, then they kill World Gorger Dragon, all my dudes come back into play, and we're having a great time. But also he's a good thing to warp world into, because I have like him plus like a Fleshbag Marauder, and then I make the stack just right, so I get everything in play. And then the World Gorger Dragon takes it all away, and then the Fleshbag Golem, the Fleshbag Marauders, his thing comes into play, and I sacrifice the World Gorger Dragon. And then all my dudes come back, and I get them all to enter the battlefield with their crazy effects once again. It's living the dream. In my extensive testing, and by extensive testing I mean 5 games, it did happen that way one time, and but World Gorger Dragon killed me, I think, twice as well. So he's not amazing, but he's a good time. Call World Gorger Dragon for a good time. His number is written on every bathroom stall. And then I've got the creatures that don't have come into play effects. Sheoldred, obviously. I mean, a bunch of dudes fall into my graveyard. Sheoldred brings it back, as well as making them sack a creature. She's amazing. She's a demon queen, and she's a magnificent creature. I don't like what's going on below her waist. I'll freely admit it. I don't think she's too keen on making the sex with anyone anytime soon, and she's gone to great lengths to make sure that doesn't happen. Like the greatest lengths, you could argue. The Praying Mantis could learn a thing or two from Sheoldred, the Whispering One. But despite that, she's a wonderful lady, and she belongs in this deck. Mikaeus the Unhallowed. Ooh, the zombie cleric. What's better than coming into play, guys, is them coming into play twice when they die. And Mikaeus is there to make that happen. Play up the Hatebound, do some damage when they come back into play. Hey, buddy, I'll unearth you, too. Oh, what's that, Sedris? Oh, you can unearth things, and that works with the Flare of the Hatebound, too? That's right, buddy. Well, great, Sedris. Then I've got Kiki Jiki, another obvious choice, copying things for great effect. Glen Elendra is my only counter. Granted, she's a counter twice. She's my only counter, but she's great to have just in case. And my opponents can see it coming and play around it, so I feel like that's pretty fair. I want this deck to be as much fun as possible. I don't want my opponents to concede. And I feel like Glen Elendra is safe, and my opponent won't concede if she's the only counter around. Got 2 drawings. I would like more. This was the hardest thing. I originally had like a package of 5, but when I had to make cuts, I felt like the other stuff was more important. So I cut a bunch of the drawing stuff, and I just play it fast and loose and hope for the best. But, I mean, it would be good to fill up my hand. especially since I play a lot of land, I could get mana flooded pretty easily. But I feel like Fact or Fiction and Careful Consideration were the best 2 of the 5 that I had. So they stay. Tameo, as promised, because she is the best and my lover, not my secret lover. I have actually told my girlfriend all about Tameo now. She's not okay with it, but she's going to have to deal with it. I'm thinking about going into some sort of big love relationship, moving to Utah, and my girlfriend could be, the first one, and Tameo's number 2, but, if things continue as they're going with me and Tameo, then that might have to switch around and Tameo might be number 1. Anyway, I digress. I gotta move on. Enough about Tameo. Mimic Vat. This is my patch of almost fun things. And I say almost fun things because they really only benefit me. Twilight's Call, just a fucking killer. I get Twilight's Call, I probably win the game. If I draw this card, it's almost a sure thing, as long as I have a few things in my graveyard, that I'm going to win the game. This card should never be printed. It's insane. This card is absolutely incredible. Living Death. This one almost made it to this pile because it benefits my opponent as well, but let's be honest, Sedris is much better prepared for a Living Death than my opponent 9 times out of 10. Makeshift Mannequin, when I quickly need something to come back and Sedris can't do it. Buried Alive is my only, I guess you could say, creature tutor, and it puts them into the graveyard, so it's not like it's going right into play or into my hand. I feel a little dirty about having Buried Alive, and if you guys think it's too good or whatever, I would cut it if people complained about it. I want to stick to my mission statement of making a really fun, but not necessarily the best deck ever. And Buried Alive maybe doesn't meet that cut, but we'll see. Sneak Attack. That's a fun one too. Nobody sees anything coming with the Sneak Attack. And yeah, Mimic Vat. That's a great card in just about any commander deck. Alright, and now we get to the nit and gritty, the fun pile. Gamble. I get a card, but I could immediately lose that card if I'm not careful. It's a gamble, you could say. Wheel of Fortune. Hey everybody, let's discard our hand and draw 7 new cards. Chaos Warp. Wheel of Chaos Warp. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the lesson that we should learn. Yeah. This one speaks for itself. It's I could do it to my opponent. I could do it to myself. Something's gonna happen. Mana Flare. I want to ramp and I want to ramp hard, but guess what, friend? You, my opponent, gets to ramp with me. Pandemonium. Nah, if I were a better man, this would be Warstorm Surge, but why do I get all the fun? My opponent should be able to play. So Pandemonium it is. Confusion of the Rings. This is a great one. Oh man, every time I cast this, my opponents, get furious. This is public enemy #1 every time I cast this thing. They always want to destroy it. I don't know why. I mean, you could play around it, and you could make it go benefit you very well. I think it's a lot of fun. This is probably, after Warp World, the most fun card in the deck, I would say. And it has an insane picture right out of the movie Heavy Metal. Gate to the Ether, or Aether, or however you want to pronounce it. Fuck you, Gate to the Ether. How about that? Anyway, yeah, this is another thing that could just completely ruin my game or make it better, depending on what I draw and what my opponents draw. Well, I mean, it's all's fair. The gate admits everyone. Mass Polymorph. Oh, well, this belongs in this pile, clearly. But, yeah, Mass Polymorph, just get rid of all the guys I have out. Let's replace them with new dudes. A lot of fun. I mean, sometimes it's not going to be great, and I'll get things that are worse than what I had. But I'll always try to use it if I have at least 3 guys out, just for the shits and or giggles. Twisted Allegiance. Yeah. Why have Insurrection when you could twist the Allegiance? Let's trade creatures for the turn and see what happens. Thieves Auction. Possibly card number 3 on the list of most fun cards in the deck. Thieves Auction, whatever's on the table, we get to choose one at a time which card we want, me and the opponent. It's a good time. It's a good time. The one time I cast this, I did it completely wrong, and I chose the World Gorger Dragon, and then my opponent immediately killed it while like the stack was on there, and so I was just left with nothing, and it was a horrible, horrible time. I don't know what I was thinking. It was the stupidest thing I think I've ever done in Magic. But whatever. One day, I'm going to play it, and I'm not going to pick World Gorger Dragon. It's going to be awesome. Then I've got Warp World, which is the nit and gritty, the absolute most fun card I can get. I take away everything, and I put new things in its place. In their place, rather. A grand old time. Warp World is probably 9 times out of 10 the thing I will be retrieving with the Runescarred Demon should I draw it, just for the fun of it. And that's the deck. I hope you enjoy what I've done with it. And again, this is not supposed to be a deck that wins a whole lot, just a deck that's supposed to have a lot of fun things happening. And so if you're entertained, I've done my job. Let's start now and get on with it. Sedris the Entertainer.